Peace and blessings, my people, black people, YouTube. Let's go in. I know it's been a minute, but life is life, and we continue to move and keep it pushing. I'm back with another video, Grand Kush. This is Black History Month. And it's only right that we really break down what black is. Okay, I'm doing this old school. I didn't feel like setting up, right? I'm just going off the cuff. What is black? We have some people who don't want to identify with the term black because they feel it's a social construct, right? And it's negative to the psyche. And that can be understood if you're looking at things from a political standpoint, right? Or depending on what definitions that you're using to describe black, okay? There's a difference between science and religion, and we're going to break that down as well. Now, when it comes down to certain black people who say, hey, we can't use the term black because black means death and black is this and black is that, when you look at the definition, it's all negative. Well, I'm about to flip the blackness into a positive, right? With this 9 science. So let's start off with some information, okay? And this information is going to be the basis that we build upwards. Listen to reason. And because the Ethiopian race is the original ethnic race, that's all black people with woolly hair. And who cares to identify under the term, all right? It turns out that in nature, in the nature of nature, that the nature of the Ethiopian race occupies the position of original and primary pioneer of culture and law and order, right? So when it comes down to black people, okay, we set culture and civilization first. Now, don't get me wrong, all races have an opportunity to rule on this planet, okay? And the people in rule at this time are what we consider white people, right? At least in America and the European countries. Now, we have to understand, my people, that our mind states, our ethics, our morals, our religious minds, our scientific minds have been railroaded by the ruling power at this time. So our perspective, if you will, in some cases are mixed and blended in with the last ethnic race on the planet, which is the race that we consider Caucasian or white or what have you. Okay? Let's continue to read. Therefore, when the time is right, like right now, the present cycle, nature knowledge comes to the nobility of the Ethiopian race inherently, that is, naturally by nature. And the correct information includes beginnings and endings of persons and also things and the manifestation of the laws of nature for the benefit of the Ethiopian race and all other human races on Mother Earth. The culture of the Ethiopian race in the positive, because there's negatives when it comes down to peoples and their races. The Ethiopian race in the positive begins with origins. Authentic, real, and true beginnings of persons and things. And that's what I'm going to talk about right now. the positive and the beginning of origins of what we consider black people today. And nine science we call the Ethiopian race and the original prime ethnic race on this planet. So let's go to our etymology and let's look at religion, right? Because sometimes we got to look at things from a scientific perspective, okay? Under the term religion, okay, and the mystifying of religion and the mythical aspects of religion, we may not get a key overstanding. So, what is religion? Okay, because we deal with nine science over here. That's Nuwapu and Noon science. Salute to Dr. Malachi Z. York, and let's give respect to the writer Afro Unu. Okay. Religion, state of life bound by monastic vows. All right. State of life bound by monastic vows. So it doesn't sound like with religion, you thinking for yourself. You being made to think a particular type of way based on vows that you take. Action or conduct indicating a belief. Now, when you see the word belief, you see the lie within and a divine power and reverence for and desire to please it. So now when we're dealing with religion, right, we have to understand what is this divine power, okay? And this is where things can get a little bit sketchy because all of us, as far as the ethnic races are concerned, have a different understanding, different knowledge and wisdom about the divine power that created human beings on this planet. Let's continue to read. Okay. Now you got to look at the origins of these words. Okay. You got Anglo-French in there, right? You got Old French. You see, piety, devotion, religious community, and directly from Latin, religio, respect for what is sacred. Okay, what is sacred when it comes down to religion, and can all human beings agree on the respect for the sacredness through religion, reverence for the gods, conscientiousness, sense of right, moral obligation, fear of the gods. There's fear in there when you're in religion. You're fearful, okay? But you was giving your life for God, and life is good, but you got to be in fear of the gods, at least by way of the definition. Divine service, religious observance, a religion, a faith, a mode of worship, cult, okay? Cult, sanctity, holiness in Latin, late Latin, monastic life, right? So let's look up monastic. Pertaining to or characteristic of a religious recluse. All right, so that's monastic, monkish, okay? You know, monk is short of monkey, okay? So we're dealing with nine science. So let's look at science. We got to break down on religion. Now, science is a whole different type of word, and you got to choose whether you're a religious mind, what you believe in something somebody told you to believe in, or you have a scientific mind, right? You put your theories, your hypotheses out there. You're responsible for your mind and your actions and your behaviors. You feel what I'm saying? Science, state or fact of knowing what is known, knowledge of something acquired by study, right? This information that I'm giving you have been studied for years, all right? Information, assurance of knowledge, certitude, certainty, knowledge, learning, application, corpus of human knowledge, okay? Knowledge, knowing expertness, intelligent, skill. All right. Basically, it means to know. Do we see the difference? Why shouldn't they call us black? Let's see if I can get it in the etymology. Okay. Which they have as an adjective, black. Okay. Color, absolutely dark, absorbing all light. Uh-oh. That's the key term, key terms right there. Right off the rip. If you're scientifically minded, then you should understand. If you're religious minded, you looking at Allah, God, Yahweh, and you still trying to prove the unproven imaginary spook God out there, you might not get it, right? So absolutely dark, absorbing all light. What absorbs all light? In the body, okay? Next, of the color of soot or coal. That's like saying Sudan. Okay, so that's the first line. That's the important line right there. Let's go down. It's gonna break down into some more words, reconstructed to be from Proto-Germanic. Now you know God is a German word. It comes from gut, right? It's a German word, so they're using German now to break down black, which means burn, which has nothing to do with black people. It's just their definitions that they're using, their words that they're using. Dark, black, Swedish, black, ink, right? To burn. And then you have the Proto Indo-European original term where it comes from to burn, gleam, shine, flash. Okay, so this is the etymology. But when they give you the definition, right? This is how words is used over time. The definition over time. Definitions can change. You can add words to the definition. We know this, right? So look, to burn, gleam, shine, flash, scorch, blaze, glow, burn, to shine. Why? These are not negative terms. If you understand science, and then look, it also has pale in here. Okay? That should let you know something. The people who we call Caucasian or white people, right? And they have degrees of melanin, pheomelanin in them, down to ghost. Okay, they were ghostized from darker peoples with straight black hair. Okay, now darker skinned people with woolly hair or straight hair were created from the natural star ingredients and forces on this planet. What we consider white people was ghostized out of a people. The Phoenician and the Indians, the Hindus. And when we mean ghostized, they don't have the natural ingredients from the original creations on this planet. All right. And so now you got down into Old English. When you're dealing with these languages, their languages is the last languages to be created or evolve on this planet, just like religion is the last ethereal scientific information on this planet, right? You got 9 science, 6 science, and 3 science. And religion is falling under 6 and hitting the hardest when it comes down to the Old English, and 3 ether science. So this is being described, black is being described in Old English and what as well. And this is where you start to get the more negative terms. Okay? The more negative terms. Why? What is our connections to those who deal with Old English? This is 1796. Okay, what was happening with black people in America at this time? They had us enslaved. Okay, so why would there be any positivity connected to this black term when we're dealing with the laws of opposites and they deem us to be an inferior people? Okay, but see, we showed you the original breaks down of the term black, right? In English, it has been the color of sin. But their judges wear the color black, right? So there's something going on there. In that case, black is very powerful. Greek, this is where we got to go to right here, melos. And this is where we're going to deal with the natural creations. This is the description of natural processes in creation by the forces, the positive forces of nature. So black is not this. Black is all there is. And black is life. Black is not death. Okay? And when you die and decay, that that flesh, that body, that the body that we have, right, is deteriorating, becoming soil into the ground, into the brown black soils, and that spirit is moving on back into the ether forces of almighty nature in the cosmos. Two, and people don't believe it, I don't want to say in reincarnation, but spirits are not all the spirits there is throughout this solar system in our universe until the sun disintegrates 4.5 billion years ago. There isn't creation of spirits. All the spirits have been created, and that's why you'll come back onto this planet, right? You'll come back into this planet until this solar system and this galaxy ceases to exist billions of years from now. You may not come back in the same form and may not remember, but you will be you'll be back on this planet. Okay? That's something totally different though. So we got to break down on black, right? Stay with me, my people. This is interesting because this is it. This is what it is, and anybody can challenge it, right? So we're breaking down, the natural processes and the natural black people, the original prime people on this planet. So where can we start with this? Where can we start with this? Okay, we have to start scientifically, people. And we start going from religion, right? Well, Genesis, genes is right there. You know what I'm saying? Um, um, in the Torah is Bereshith, okay? In the beginning, not the beginning of the beginning, but in the beginning something happened. But let's talk about origin. Let's talk about origin. Because what did our information say? We're beginnings with origins, authentic, real, true beginnings of the Ethiopian race in the positive. So what does origin start with and deal with really? When you say original, ancestry, race, arise, commencement, beginning. You see that? Beginning. This is what our information is cracking off with. And we're dealing with science. We're dealing with knowledge. You got to deal with correct knowledge. Otherwise, you'll be chasing your tail in a circle. And I've seen so-called scholars, so-called conscious dudes in the YouTube world, right, that have beginnings in the organic conscious communities. They chasing their tail, man, because they keep wanting to describe and explain things through religion, and that shit's tired. That's tired. That's burnt out. You feel what I'm saying? That's burnt out. Until somebody fully digests that Bible and he can come off the mind, then you just gonna be in that book forever. And these dudes be talking about the Bible and they don't even sit and read the Bible page for page all the way through it. And that's why they couldn't fade Dr. Malachi Z. York. And that's why Dr. Malachi Z. York gets a lot of hate, because he can recall straight out the Bible something that people choose to be stuck in, at least black people. Now, when it comes down to us, right, being in bondage in America, the choice that was given and the choice, the mind that we had to deal with at that time was Christianity. Their version of Christianity, though. You know, we can understand that black people, the majority of black people in America, are Christians, and we know why. Okay? A lot of us are Muslim, a lot of us are Hebrew Israelites by choice. But we're talking about in origins and origin, though. Religion is not going to properly describe who black people are when it comes down to ancestry and race. And that's why we got to be scientific, because we're talking about natural processes in creation. We're also talking about God. We can't be dealing with a mystery spook God. Okay? If we're physical people, then we need a physical creator. Unless you can explain, how can something that you can't see and be imaginary create things that you can see? And with that question, as a physical person, why can't we see invisible things? Okay, if you see something that supposedly was considered invisible and you seen it, then it made itself visible to be seen. And when we're talking about perspective, optics of science and sight, we're really talking about light. We're talking about degrees of the electromagnetic spectrum. The visible aspect of the electromagnetic spectrum. So there's waves out there that we can't see but still exist, right? But for us to see these things, then that wave or that energy, right, has to manifest in the visible spectrum of light for us to see it. Now that's deep, because it can be something sitting outside the visible spectrum of light and we can't see it, but it exists, because existence is first, creation is second. All right, so we dealing with the beginning, the source, my people. We dealing with the source. Come on, you gotta like and subscribe this video, man. This is killing the flat earth theory, all of that stuff easily with this. I'm not gonna compound you with a gang of information, a gang of rhetoric, a gang of myths, possibility, throwing darts at the dartboard until you hit the center. Nah, this dart is hitting right in the center. Okay? We coming from the center and spiraling out on 9. Source, descent, lineage, birth, right? Arise, rise, get up, appear above the horizon. Horus rising, origin, become visible. Like I said, from the invisible, become visible. Be born. Be descended. Receive life. So people, especially my black people, Ethiopian people, Sun people, Melaninites, yeah, Melaninites, we breaking it all the way down. So to receive life, origin, take origin, come forth by day, proceed, start, okay? And then we see the Proto-Indo-European original term, right? Heri. If you now you know you're dealing with vowels, so if you put that U right there, hey Ru, that's what that means. That word means Horus, to rise, okay, to lift, to raise up. So we got a breakdown of origin. So we got to start with origin. Okay? We got to start with origin. And we talked about the visible spectrum. We talked about the visible spectrum. So let's do this. Okay, we got to start with the visible spectrum. You got to understand this. We're dealing with UV light. The visible spectrum is a portion of the electromagnetic spectrum. It's a portion that is visible to the human eye. It includes colors from red to violet. The remaining electromagnetic spectrum is invisible to our eyes. Okay, so let's look at some pictures of the electromagnetic spectrum. Okay, so we need to understand this. I don't want that one. Let's do this one. So, do you see the blackness? All right. Do you see the blackness? Now, we're talking about terms, etymologies, and definition. So, the biggest blackness that we know is the cosmos. Okay. And then you have the electromagnetic spectrum. This is light that's coming off of, where does the electromagnetic spectrum come from? The sun. Okay. So when you're talking about black people, you have to be talking about origins. And if we're talking about origins, then you have to be able to explain and know scientifically, which means to know that black is coming from the cosmos. The blackness that's important to us, manifested as black people on this planet, is coming out of the electromagnetic spectrum. Right? So we got the electromagnetic spectrum. Okay? So let's say, where does the electromagnetic spectrum come from? The electromagnetic spectrum is created by particles being accelerated by an electric field and producing oscillating waves of electric and magnetic fields. Okay? Each type of electromagnetic radiation has a different wavelength and frequency. Just like when you're dealing with other human beings, there's understanding and lack of understanding. We're on different wavelengths and frequencies. The electromagnetic spectrum includes radio waves, microwaves, infrared radiation, visible light, ultraviolet radiation, X-rays, gamma rays, and cosmic rays. Okay, so when you think about the definition, the etymology, the blackness that we share, you got to be thinking about this. These waves are emitted by electrically charged particles undergoing acceleration, movement, and can interact with other charged particles, exerting force on them. We're talking about the forces of nature. Okay, let's go in here. There's a little bit more breakdown on the electromagnetic spectrum, but we want to look at the elements of the sun. The chemical composition. Let's see if we can get the elements in here. So you see here, all right, this is very important. Because melanin is a gift from the Most High. All right, we can't front on melanin. Your melanin is the God code. All right, you may know the sun consists mainly of hydrogen, and helium. Okay, have you ever wondered about the other elements in the sun? About 67 chemical elements have been detected in the sun. I'm sure you're not surprised that hydrogen is the most abundant element, according accounting for over 90% of the atoms and over 70% of the solar mass, right? The next most abundant element is helium, which accounts for almost just under 9% of the atoms and about 27% of the mass. And then there are only trace amounts of other elements. Dig this, trace amounts of other elements. Let's see if we can get trace. Follow, draw a line, draw or make an outline, look for, follow, pursue, delineate, score, devise, plan out, okay, track, course, all right, a drawing out. So we got that. Okay. So the trace amounts of other elements, including oxygen, carbon, nitrogen, silicone, magnesium, neon, iron, and sulfur. These trace elements make up less than 0.1% of the mass of the sun. Dig that. You got to dig that, because life comes out of oxygen, carbon, nitrogen, right? And hydrogen, carbon, oxygen, nitrogen, and hydrogen. That's DNA. And where are these elements coming from? They're coming from the sun. So how do they come from Yahweh? How do they come from Allah? How do they come from God? If these names or these gods are not the sun described through language over time. We also want to look at this. How do we get to the sun? Okay. How do we get to the sun? Boom. This is what we're talking about. The 7 stages of a life cycle of a sun. All right. And this process does not happen just on the whim. There has to be laws behind these processes, consistent laws, cycles behind these processes. And 9 Science is explaining these laws and cycles and processes that create life, right? And once you get this information right here, for those that may not know or may not think about it, there's nowhere else to look. Scientifically, you have to be responsible for your own personal God. That's your mind and your brain. You have to be responsible. Nobody is coming to save you. Okay? Nobody has been saved yet. Nobody has been, in a sense, dead for time and then brought back. Right? So these are the processes of the sun, how we get to a sun. This is one of my favorite pictures right here, right? Because it shows you the processes from a T-Tari, okay? Now, 9 Science is explaining all of this. I'm just not giving you the vocabulary. Let's make this video much longer, all right? So we start here, though, with black people. And then we get to those trace minerals, right? So let's look at let me see if I can get it up properly. We in DNA now, right? Let's just go to Wiki. class real quick. And back in the day when I used to talk about DNA, I used to say it's the divine nature in Africans. Okay? The divine nature in the Almighty. So understanding DNA, I'm not going to go too much into this, not being scientific. I just want you to see that. Okay. Each nucleotide is composed of one of four nitrogen containing nucleobases. Okay. Cytosine, guanine, adenine, and thymine. Right. And so you've seen that nitrogen was one of the trace elements that was coming out of the sun. Okay. So the chemical composition of DNA: hydrogen, oxygen, nitrogen, carbon. What is that? The trace minerals. Okay? Right? The trace minerals plus phosphorus. Phosphorus is coming out of the earth. Now, when we're dealing with this science, we're also dealing with spiritual beings as well. We're talking about creation. So this is also explaining and putting it on record that physical people, especially black people, cannot come from an imaginary God. Okay? This is life right here. This is life right here. And we are living based on a time cycle, a double helix. This is the 9. A 9 is a helix. Okay? A sun helix. You're dealing also with phosphorus, right? Up here, the sugar phosphate backbone, hydrogen bonds, right? And so this right here, man, this is hard to explain. There's not too many books out there that's really explaining this as properly as 9 Science gets into it when you start marrying the information. Otherwise, you have to go get into the true science to understand this. You got to go get the science books. And why am I giving you this information? Because this is the information that I study and trying to understand and understanding the origins of black people. We have to start here. And black people, let it be known, have always been who they are. This origin did not start in America, my people. Okay? This origin of people didn't start everywhere. It started at a center and migrated outwards. Okay, and the first people on this planet were eumelanites. Why do I say eumelanites? Well, let's go back to the definitions, the etymologies, right? And let's look at melanin. Okay, boom. Because they said black is negative, but melanin can't be negative because when we seen black, it said absorbing all light, right? It said absorbing all light. So when we look at melanin, boom, the best term that they can give it is black. Not white, not pale, okay? Black and brown pigment. And there's 2 types of melanin when you're dealing with skin, my people. There's eumelanin and pheomelanin. And eumelanin means great melanin, and pheomelanin means dusky melanin or dusk melanin. You can look it up. All right. Then we got melano. Okay. We got some more dark murky. This is not a negative term. Okay. You got dirty though, right? Stained, black. You're dealing with Sanskrit. Okay. You know, Sanskrit, the Hindus, they hate the Dravidians, the darker African connected Indians. Okay. When you look at the Dravidians, they Their ancestry and origin goes back to Africa. They're considered the southern people versus their lighter skinned northern people, okay, of darkest color. So that's melanin, okay? So let's put in here, because I could put in the chemical composition of melanin, but maybe we can get it right here. Boom, melanin, okay? We dealing with skin, hair, things of that nature. So here's really the three. Now, neuromelanin is in all brains. This black pigment is very necessary in all brains. Without this black pigment, your brain is off. Alzheimer's. Okay? Eumelanin, pheomelanin. You dig me? Melanogenesis, genesis. Okay? So when you getting into the Bible and stuff like that, the first thing that you got to think when God created any type of people, right? In the sense we think that, and we ascribe to that the creation in the Bible with Genesis is the Hindus, not Africans. Okay, but we're not gonna go deep into that. So melanogenesis, you're dealing with what are being called African people, people out of the continent of Africa. Whatever that, like I always say, whatever that name was before the English made it Africa, that's where we're from. Okay. Now you can look at this. My bad. Hold on. Okay. At one time, this Africa was Ethiopia, and you got the Ethiopian Ocean. Right. I broke this down a long time ago, though. Okay. So, depending on how old the map gets, right, the time, then Ethiopia, see, Ethiopia is going to be the whole bottom of Africa. You're going to have the Ethiopian Sea. Okay. And this is before this was even called Africa, right? And you know the people that use the term uh, Ethiopia was the Greeks. Now look, this map say Lower Ethiopia at the top, West Africa. You see, Upper Ethiopia at the bottom. Okay, so we talking about the original people of this continent, not the mixtures. Okay, there was no straight-haired people in Africa at the time that I'm talking about, and the origins of our people. This is woolly haired. This is a woolly haired continent all the way through. Now, diversity, migration in time, yeah, right? These people started coming back and mixing with the original people, and that's what we're talking about. Really, when it comes down to all of the people on this planet, there's an original mixing and tying in back into us. Okay? That's why religion is the last ethereal science of nine science. So we got that. Let's go back to melanin. Okay? So, photo protection. Eumelanin is more abundant in tissues requiring photo protection. 99% absorbency rate. You got the albino breaking down. Eumelanin is an effective absorbent of light. The pigment is able to dissipate over 99.9% of absorbed UV radiation. Uh-oh. Let's go back. Let's go back because Milano was black. Melanin is black. Let's look up black. Boom. Absolutely dark, absorbing all lights. Okay. Let me see something right quick. Okay, I'm just looking at Sudan. Well, you can see it yourself. All right, I was looking for soot. That's what I was looking for. Let's see if that was in there. That's 1842. All right. So Sudan is also black, right? Let's look at Ethiopian, Ethiop, Ethiopian. Okay. Sun worshiper. That's what they have in Old English, though, right? Let's look at Ethiop. Negro. Okay. Negro, right? Then you got to break down from Homer. You dig me? They all breaking down the Ethiopian. So you got Ethiopian, Ethiop, and we seen the map. So back to melanin. All these terms for black, right? But this is the black that we talking about right here. We talking about what's real, the original creation of people on this planet. In the human skin, melanogenesis is initiated by exposure to UV radiation. What is UV radiation? Ultraviolet radiation. These are one of the rays, okay, out of the sun, right? You see? And this is how melanogenesis and melanin is activated. UV radiation. So who was God? Right? We should be answering that question right now. So you got the breakdown of ultraviolet light, UV radiation, causing the skin to darken. Your melanin is an effective absorbent of light, like we said. So let's get to the components. Okay. Now you got to understand this process because this is the original human being, the eumelaninite. Okay, eumelanin and pheomelanin did not exist on the planet in origins. Pheomelanin came over time based on moving outside of the sun zone. That's Tropic of Cancer, Tropic of Capricorn, and the equator. All right. So this process is always coding for eumelanin. You get mutation when you go into pheomelanin, right? You get the mutation. Okay. So pheomelanin within the hair and skin reflect yellow to red, which may increase damage from UV radiation exposure. And so pheomelanin is not an absorbent. It's not an absorbent. Okay, when you look up these terms right here and you go look at the American Cancer Association and society, they'll break down these terms right here and inclusive of sulfur, right? Now, this is just how it is. Okay. Pheomelanin skin reflects, right? It don't absorb, it reflects. So that sun UV radiation sits on their skin and is just like on the top of their skin, right? Where ours, the UV radiation is hitting the skin and we're actually drawing it in. Okay. I want to go down and see if we can find the chemical composition. Although in general, human beings possess a similar concentration of melanocytes in their skin, the melanocytes in some individuals and ethnic groups produce variable amount of melanin. The ratio of eumelanin 74% and pheomelanin is 26%. Also, in our science, the ratio of negativity to positivity is 7 to 2. Okay. And so when you think about this, right, the 74% being ruled and controlled or influenced by the 26% on this planet, what's going on? It must be how we see things in our perspective, okay? So we talking about the cosmos right now. What I'm looking for, my people, was a breakdown, a chemical breakdown of eumelanin. So let me go back up here right quick. Let's jump into eumelanin. Let's see if we can get that. Or this might have just took me down to, because I'm showing you it in the chemical structure, in the chemical formula, but we got to see it. We got to see it. So let's go out of here. Let me go right here. Okay. So, I might have to just put in melanin now. I might have to do that. Let's see if it's in here. Because we want it all the way broke down, right? We want it all the way broke down. Get rid of that. You know what? I'm going to do one better. It might be better right there. Boom. Come on, man. Why you ain't giving me what I'm looking for? There we go. Somebody feeling me out there. There we go. All right. Eumelanin, which means good melanin or great melanin. Okay. There we go. Like many substances in the body, the chemical makeup of melanin includes a mixture of carbon, hydrogen, oxygen, and nitrogen. Okay. That's powerful right there. And there's a melanin chemical formula. Okay. And we got to look into the pharmaceutical companies, okay, because this is a major concern right here. Because cancer is related to pheomelanin. Cancer is not related to eumelanin, although now we can get cancer. But eumelanin, at a time, based on the findings scientifically, right, was void of cancer. Okay, so if how the pharmaceutical companies are looking at for ways to create a medicine, right, that can help rid the people of cancer. And so, do you think this code right here is important? Very important. Very important. And we may see that coming in the coming future. How important eumelanin is. Okay? How important eumelanin is. So, we got eumelanin and we got the chemical composition, right? CHON. We got DNA and the chemical composition, CHON plus P. And I just showed you the trace elements of the sun, okay? And if we're dealing with just trace elements, look at what the sun did when we talk about life. When we talk about brains and brain activity, okay? This is what our science is talking about, right? That's what this science is talking about. You dig me? So when we talking about black people, when we talking about black, we are talking about eumelanin, and it is the proper scientific term outside of the terms that we use and nine science collectively is you melanin. And with that being said, you can't get that twisted. You melanin people are people with woolly hair, the original primary Ethiopian race, ethnic race on this planet that predate all races. Okay, and that's a precursor to nine science, understanding self. This is Black History Month. Like and subscribe. This is Grant Cush. If you got all the way this far, thanks for viewing. Shout out to the new subscribers, and keep sending the comments, man. I'm answering as much as possible. You know what I'm saying? It's dope interacting with the people. So y'all hold it down. Look forward to the Super Bowl, and y'all know who coming out with the win. Chiefs, baby, all the way. Y'all take it easy. Peace.